got initial proposals for the scheme during August and September. The first thing we did was reach out to all the neighbours, as you'd expect, to a little bit of research, managed to track down Patrick and Maria, and were able to send them copies very early of the plans that we were looking at, along with Christine and Tom on the other side. We submitted those plans up to them and then came and met in our back garden. And as a result of those discussions with them, went back to our architect and asked them to move our proposed extension away from their outhouse wall such that they had access for maintenance and repair as they'd requested. The planning application was then submitted and validated in October 2022. We then further amended and developed the scheme based on feedback and comments that came in consultation with Ellie. To provide a bit more detail, the main concerns that were addressed were scale of development. The current proposal that's in front of you gives us an overall building footprint of 99 square metres, which in old language is around about 1,100 square foot building, so nothing substantial. To put this in context, within the neighbourhood, Patrick's property next door is 163 square metres. So even when complete, our dwelling will be 64% smaller than their house and 30% smaller than the neighbours on the other side. So that gives you an indication of context. The upper floor is deliberately stepped back from the ground floor extension to respect the 45-degree rule. And prior to planning, as I said, we actually moved the extension after consultation. The site is not within a conservation area, is not listed, and there are no listed buildings in the vicinity. The new accommodation, as you saw, is entirely to the rear of the property and generally not visible from the street. Concerns were raised with regards to the view from Ashdale Road, as has been shown. To this extent, we changed the fenestration that was originally put forward. The lower matching brickwork was retained, and the timber cladding was modified to a weathered grey. The timber cladding was retained as it helps break up the mass of the proposed extension and is aesthetically softer in appearance than brickwork. The overall design is gently contemporary, respecting the existing building and retaining the existing brickwork in the new development. The proposals are stepped away from the party wall lines, providing separation. The upper floor is stepped back from the ground floor extension, and some studies have been provided as part of the application. So I think it's fair to say it's very respectful to the neighbours throughout the process and made sure we kept them involved throughout. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we will move into debate. I believe it's yours.
Cheers. Thank you, Chair. This is a large extension. However, the garden of the property has the capacity for such an extension. And as the gardens of these properties on Station Road are north facing, I agree with the officer that loss of sunlight to the neighbours will be minimal. So I will move the officer recommendation of approval.
Right, thank you. Yes, Councillor Back.
It's just an observation, really, that I can't make head and tail of the shadowing studies, so delineation between what's the application site and what's next door neighbour.
Yeah,
I am in the shade. I am familiar with this type of thing. Fortunately, it doesn't tell me what I think.
yes, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Chair. It seems perfectly reasonable to me. I've listened to what the local member says. He seems far more familiar with it than I am. And I'm happy to second approval.
Thank you. Any more for any more? No, I see no hands. It's been moved and seconded for approval, so we move this to the vote. 6 votes for, definitely 1 abstention.
Positive. What everybody said.
Yeah, that was moved together. Okay, now, what was said before? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I do have the three updates which we received for consultation. Third set of drawings still running after the application from the Chairman. You can see from the report, we had objections from town council with the residents to this particular application. And since the agenda of the simplified pages from town, we received three updates. So I just like to Craig, your indulgence to read them out and I'll share with you. The first update is from the town council and commented stating refusal on town council request that this application be considered by the board planning committee. The second update, Chairman, was from an agent, Warren Hadaway, who'd already submitted letters in relation to concerns and objections from local residents to the site. And again, this is a fairly brief letter, Chairman, so if we just read it out, which I think that would set out things from their perspective. Right further to our letter dated 23rd of November, 6th of January 2023, following site of further amended plans submitted in relation to the planning application. These are the plans of the Our clients remain concerned about the impact of the proposed development on the character and appearance of the conservation area, the impact on the neighbouring properties. In this respect, as a general comment, there have been numerous revisions to plans for this site both as part of the current application and in previous applications. This further letter is submitted following the site of further amended plans, subject to the consultation on the 17th of January and of the recommended conditions set out in the Oxford report due to be considered at committee on the 31st of January. Our clients considered each of the recommended conditions are necessary, but would note in particular the need for one recommended condition 2, it referring to the latest set of plans subject to the 17th of January 2023 consultation. Second point, recommended condition number 7, it removing the specified permitted development rights. I will come back to both of those to the channel. Both of these conditions are necessary to retain control to the local planning authority over this development and to protect the character and appearance of the conservation area and the impact of the development on neighbouring properties. The third Chairman, we received this morning from Mr. Brampton. I think he might be in the audience tonight. I do confirm we continue to object to this application on the grounds that it seeks to remove conditions deemed necessary by the planning inspector who allowed the appeal against the council's refusal. Thanks, Chair. I think just quickly returning to the officer report, Chairman. Obviously, this is a site with a planning script. Had a refusal planning issued by this authority as late 3 years ago. Very much as backland plot conservation area, just a bit, but also was concerned about the loss of tree on the plot as well. And indeed, that decision was taken after a committee site inspection. So, probably one or more members sitting here tonight have been to the site, visit, actually looked at the site on the ground before making the decision to refuse the application. To go to the change, Chairman, that application was refused, then went to appeal, and the appeal was upheld by the inspector, who at that point in time proposed 10 plan conditions. So you have the appeal decision on the agenda paper for tonight. I think it's fair to say that some of those conditions were imposed because of simply lack of information, lack of details that were with the application at the time. To cover things such as materials, site levels, detail of landscape scheme, details of site storage and construction compound, construction vehicles. So those conditions were specific conditions in the decision letter. I think it's unfortunate when this revised application was submitted, it wasn't a government letter explaining all that information now submitted to the current application. So in essence, you don't need to repeat the condition because this information includes the levels, it includes the materials, it includes all of those, a lot of the details that the inspector have requested. And that, Chairman, is why when you look at the recommendation again, for our new 7 conditions and not 10, because some of them were actually covered by the plans condition, which is condition 2. Okay. That's the point that the agent's letter has identified in condition 2, upon details of materials, the levels, the landscaping, replacement tree planting, and also the window and door details that the inspector previously requested to be submitted to conditions. We've got them now, so we don't need them again. Condition 7 was particularly relevant to the inspector, I think, because he was reflecting on the location of the plot, which is located to the side of the existing dwelling. And very much took the view that there was a need to control potential future extensions and operations to the building. And they notified a number of specified classes. You'll note that condition 7 was recommended proposes the deletion of class A, which is general extension. Class AA, which is the new GDO permitted development right, which allows additional stories. That permitted development right did not exist in 2019, 2019 when the inspector dealt with this. So that is separated from. Class B relates to other routes. Class C relates to other route operations, which would include things like enveloped windows, which I'll come back to in a moment. Class D is porches, Class E ancillary buildings within the curtilage and air hard services. So in essence, the permitted development right limitation as recommended to the chairman is actually more onerous. Expected different at the time, but provision of classes. I think the important thing, having said all that to say, Chairman, is that the actual position and location and scale of the building is essentially exactly the same as what I am doing. The changes that we now have ended up with are minimal. I think the major change that being sought is related to the intention to install 7 out of face developed windows, which are now deleted from the scheme altogether. What had also been deleted from the scheme was a range of solar panels on the west facing roof slope. And that's enabled the roof developers to actually go back to the position that they were allowed in the field. So they're in replacing windows rather than out of facing developed windows. I think that is a significant change, Chairman. So what we have now is essentially the unspoiled roof of the ancillary building that the inspector considered to be acceptable at the time. With the appeal. So that's where we have, Chair, where we've got to. I do have some photos, just go to the first one, just to remind members of the site if you haven't got there. So this is at the back of the site, looking towards the northeastern corner. And if we pan around to the second photograph very quickly, you can see there's a slight crosswalk across the site. So this is looking now back towards the rear properties of York Road. If we go back to the first photograph, the ground level of the building, about 2 metres in, is about 1.2 metres below ground level. So the building is set into the site in order to diminish its impact. I would hope that the drawings that are shown on the agenda paper, which do show trees at a very small scale, the red line showing the existing ground level, you see that the building is largely set into the site to diminish that impact, potential impact. Let's go to the third photograph. This already exists on site. The reason for this is that we still do have the appeal decision plan, which is still excellent. What you're looking at there is the stone and the slate. Black, white panel shape, but it's quite a good match, which sandstone and slate. That's the sample panel. That's been submitted actually our condition discharge with the earlier application. So think of this as a separate condition that was already. And then the last 2 photographs. This is showing the entrance to the site. This is York Road in front of you. this, when we went to the site, we recorded, walked all the way to this access way and then veered on right. From this position here, you might see the door. Then just panning across. This is a view back from opposite the front of numbers 2 and number 4 you'll see there on the picture. But you're looking back towards the site with the access way on the right hand side there. So again, you get the feeling the tall sandstone walk with the headroom behind the chassis and the screen, the building application site. Didn't take any photos of that chap to show context. I hope that gives you the idea that what we're looking at here is quite a serious side of conservation. Total profile is the same spectrum back in 2019. As I say, that's still an excellent consent, so something to mention very important. I think in summary, Chairman, to some extent, this permission now gives development that in conditions posed, that's got greater degree of control of neighbours, particularly concerned in terms of future alterations to the roof, which become more generous because of the deregulation plan that's happened since. Right, thank you, Gary. Do we have any questions on this one? Yes, Councillor.
I've read this report, Gary. I'm terribly sorry, but I really am. This is what you said. I really am confused. So can we just go? Can we just go through the conditions of the one who wants to be changed? I'm looking at page 305, and I'm looking at some page 287, which conditions have been prepared. They want to vary. First of all, in regard to condition 2, are you telling us that the drawings have been changed? That you said that a set of new drawings have been submitted.
Drawings have been changed several times, Councillor Andrews. I think the essence of the drawing change is because there are elevation changes to the drawing.
So basically, that condition, they want that condition removed, because without the condition removed, you can't actually start the building, you can't use the new set of drawings. Is that right?
They have an external plan which do whatever they want.
Yes.
This application seeks permission for a different design scheme.
Right.
The drawings that are submitted also include a lot of the detail that the inspector previously required by planning commission. Those drawings include levels, landscaping scheme, site compound, and the storage area, the higher authority parties. Yeah, we go into more details. So that removes the need, the necessity, some of the conditions that the inspector imposed. But we have the detail, yes, all covered by condition 2.
I understand that. What I'm trying to get at is, because I'm trying to understand exactly what and why it's being done. So if we can go over it very quickly. Condition 3 they want to remove. No site compound shall be established. There should be no explained above ground or step investigated work. Is this because it's been this condition has been provided, it's been satisfied, or is it because why don't they want it?
Because we've been given the detail of where it is and what it is on the plans.
Yeah, but it says no site compound shall be established. So why should a plan?
What you have, the reason for the condition is to say we want to know what this is for grant permission.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So condition 3 is not removed. Condition 3 repeated the variance says the approved site compound material stored shall be as shown on the plan. Plan made available and contained. So not just approving the plan, saying you still got to do it.
Okay, right. Then we go on to condition number 6, which is removal. Yeah. Is that because is that, do you want to remove that? Is that because we have got a parking scheme that you want to remove that?
It's not removal of structure. Essentially, we've submitted a landscaping scheme which shows replacement tree plants.
So therefore,
And you, that condition 4 requires that landscaping scheme to be done.
right. So condition 6 requires landscaping. And you've got the details you want that, so therefore that's been satisfied if that. So what then is wrong with conditions 4 and 5?
Well, Chairman, the details required by condition 4 are covered by the plans in condition 2. Developer is required to carry out the development in accordance with the approved bylaws. Don't need condition 4 at all. We're not dispensing the requirement of this, saying we've got to, because that's the detail, that's the plan we've not approved. So it's not necessary.
So you've got so when I come down to condition 5, you've got this around level, you've got the details of article. Yes, that's okay. The only other one is 8.
Which we have as well.
So you've got those details. So that's why you get. So you have those details, and you've got a requirement on the conditions requires them to carry out the performance of those details.
Well, this is wrapped up in condition 2.
Okay, right. But I wanted to make that clear, so that when we hear from the objectors, we can understand what it is they're objecting about. Because I find it's a little bit confusing.
Chairman, I think it's important to point the applications first. We came in as a set of plans without a covering letter explaining what was being replaced and what was being the details submitted on. It's taken 3 sets of drawings to get to that, plus the deletion of the out of place and bells scheme where we were happy with it. With the 7 conditions now, covered all of the condition requirements that the previous 10 expected to be.
What you're saying is that with this change of conditions and assurance plan, we end up with pretty much the same building as the one that the inspector wanted.
I think in a summary, that's fair comment to make. I think with the recommended conditions, I think we end up with a better plan.
Right. Okay.
Look at this condition 7.
So well, thank you. That's helpful. Councillor Frank.
Can I still ask a question?
Yeah, a silly question.
Silly question. With the change in the law in respect of upward extensions, presumably nothing within planning, nothing within this current application, because the applicant for submitting a further application.
No, I mean, I think that sometimes that's a common misunderstanding. This doesn't prevent an applicant making an application for any extension, operation or a launch or whatever. What it means is something that otherwise could have automatically happened through the comes a decision for the planning authority to make. So you retain the control, whereas otherwise you wouldn't have that control.
Well, I hear where you're coming from, but I'm not sure that that is the law, is it? If there are permitted development rights existing now for an upward extension without recourse to the planning authority on a full planning application, surely that
This would remove that.
it would remove that. Yeah. Okay.
The original appeal decision doesn't have that. That's it. Okay, any more questions? No? Okay, we have 2 speakers. The first being an objector, Paul T. Smith. So again, would you go please?
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you. Firstly, I realise after listening to tonight's applications that I don't have a degree in planning, neither do my resident fellow members have checked in. And I think the problem we've got is that this application, as Alton said, has had numerous various, we didn't know what we were getting. It's been through a lot. We went to appeal, you turned it down, went to appeal, we accepted the decision of the appeal, but there were certain conditions attached. And when out of 10 conditions, 3 are wanted to be buried and 3 are wanted to be scrapped, we have some concerns over what might appear on the site at a future date. And if you, we would ask you, well, as I say, I don't have a degree in planning law, so having heard some of the things tonight, I am slightly reassured by some of the things I've heard. But what I would want approval and I would want to have firm in my belief is, what are we getting? Are we getting what is on the plans that we've now seen that have just been submitted? Things seem to change with this proposed site every week in terms of what is being proposed and what's not. So we still have some concerns about things. We have to accept that the commission was granted that appeal and conditions were put on. And lots of them seem to be good and said because of my lack of knowledge. Some people's lack of knowledge, we just don't know. So we were just asking if you can reconsider and make sure that everything is buttoned down, because it does have. It was going to be a big two-story house to start with. Suddenly it became a bungalow, then it became with bigger rooms. We just don't know where we are with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Toadstone. I'd like to think that Stanley's already covered that. I think we've been assured that what is on the plan is what we get. Right, I have now the agent, Mr. Richard Webster.
Thank you, Chair. I don't really have much more to add than what our planning officer has said. Really, I hope it's really clear what we're trying to achieve in this application. It's just removing a lot of the, or not removing, but complying with the conditions. So I've got a prepared speech here about the rest of the long nights. We don't really have anything else to add other than what Harris said. So thank you very much.
We will go to debate, and this is Councillor Andrews.
Well, Chair, I have to say I came into this meeting a little bit confused, but thinking that perhaps what we were getting, or what we were being asked to do, was going to remove and relax conditions in such a way that the applicant would be able to build traffic lights and take full advantage of the situations. Of course, it's not what anybody wants to see. However, I understand from the answers to my questions to Gary that what we're doing is we're not actually making substantial changes at all. What we're doing is reworking those conditions in another form. So it's we have so they're brought up to date. If I ask you, that's what I understand. I'm sure by the officers that if this is the case, we're not going to be faced with something which was entirely unexpected and which was not within the expected view when this deal was heard. And in those circumstances, Chair, I'm prepared to really improve.
Right, thank you. Anybody else? Does anybody wish to second that? Councillor Cleary.
I'm happy to second the local members' motion. I think as we've been informed about there's an element of improvement in control, and there's actually a gain here, I think, for the locality. So I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Cleary. Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it would seem from my understanding that the controls have actually been strengthened. And I would hope that the residents gain some confidence from that. I hope that they'll know what they're getting. So I will be supporting it. And that this stuff that people feel confidence with what's been said.
Right, Councillor Beckery.
Yeah, I just would like to echo what Councillor Mackenzie said, because it's not nice when you live in the world of the unknown quantity. And I feel, from what I've heard anyway, again, like the object without a planning degree. Yeah, I feel more reassured from hearing what we've heard and the conditions that are being caused on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The only thing I'd like to add, other than agreeing what's been said, is that how depressing is it that this is 3 years ago? All right. And the rest. Yeah, right, we have this proposed and seconded for approval, so we'll start. That is unanimous. So we will move to item 16. 22/012, which is the formation of a new particular access to new lane, near Strat Lane, West Lane, and the city area.
Members of the application formation for new access and internal access track. The application is being brought to planning commission on determination of received objections from the parish council and the neighbouring properties to the south. A letter of support is also being received from the property to the left. The objections concern a number of matters, including highway safety, drainage, future precedent, and landscape impact. These objections were received for the original scheme. A reconsultation was issued on the fire simplified scheme. However, to date, no response has been received. Property does currently benefit from field access at the rear of the site. However, the applicant do not believe will have access to access the existing access hence the application for the new access. The existing field access would be removed to boundary hedge extent. Simple timber 5x8 is considered appropriate for this rural area and would ensure that the agricultural nature of the area is retained. It's not anticipated that the population of the access would significantly delayed to such an extent that it would have a detrimental impact on neighbouring community. The local housing authority have no objections, subject to a number of conditions to ensure that the proposal is undertaken in accordance with highway standards and requiring submission of further details regarding drainage. The proposal is therefore considered acceptable and not negatively impact on landscape character or neighbouring. This first aerial view is to show the site in relation to the village of West Lothian. The objects are listed the property annotated to the south, with the supported being the property to the left. This is a further aerial view to the site, the application site outlined in blue and proposed access track in red. This one's taken at the existing entrance to the site with the entrance view, which is at the centre of the image. This is been taken at the northwest corner of the paddock south. And then this is taken at the southwest corner of the paddock looking north. And then this is coming to the east. Around further to the east towards the corner of the site of the new access is proposed. Taken at the southeast corner of the site, position of the new access is north. and this is taken on the eastern boundary from Paddock towards the southern boundary. These next images are taken from New Lane further south towards Maria. This photo shows the existing access to the residential property, which is the objective property. This photo shows the southern boundary of the application site with the proposed entrance to the approximately on the right hand side of this photo. And this photo has a plan around to the east. There are no updates to the officer report. The recommendation is on the report.
Thank you, Ernie. Any questions? Seeing no questions, I have no speakers on any of the other applications now. So we will go into debate. Does anybody wish to take this one because we don't have a local member? Yes, Councillor Cleary.
Yeah, it's reasonably close to my ward where I live. Can't say I know because down the back of the fence, I don't think anybody, with the exception of the objector, I suppose it's attached the public in one way at all, in any way at all. It's one of these where you question whether it's come by these planning to development, so I suppose it does, and it's come before us because there's been an objection. I'm very happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else? Do we have a second? Second. Right, thank you, Councillor. Just very briefly, I did have a slight concern over drainage as per comments from objectors, I think the parish council as well. I'm hoping that condition stated enough to cover that. My main concern was that I very much doubt that any of the drains here will be IDP. EA wouldn't be interested. Highways presumably only interested in any problems drainage onto the highway. So just as long as there isn't going to be any problem with drainage within the site and increasing flood risk. So yeah, I hope that's the condition is suitable. So we have it proposed and seconded for approval. So we'll go to the right, that is unanimous, but we've now got to the guillotine time where we need to vote to continue. I'd like to point out that we have no more speakers. At the risk of having to touch wood, I think we've got some relatively straightforward applications to look at. So can we vote to continue? Councillor Andrews?
I shall be leaving at document. I'll propose continue. I need to have documents in the process.
Likewise, I'm not cross, but I'm leaving it.
We've got a proposal to continue. Yeah, we'll go to the vote. Or can we have that by general affirmation? General affirmation. Would anybody like a quick break? Actually, I would, so.
It's not already cleared up.
Get around the block of views and outside.
Talked about holding up the traffic that block tonight. It did, yeah.
At least you can see like this time on the
Two meetings in a row. I spotted him. I often spotted him.
At least you can see
Winding
it.
winding the stereo up with the bundle boys on, wound the window down, and go slowly past him, and they still don't hear me. Oh, it's so why's he back to
Circuit, he does the circuit.
hours, it's been absolutely fine. Bit of speed and his trailer comes to football trailer like that. This guy is
Yes,
There is somebody that's that, and it's not him.
yeah, no. That's a bit.
So, for instance, incorrect, item 17, 22 oblique 1226 house, which is PV panels and air source heat pumps on downline evening. And this one is Lucy.
Thank you. I'll be doing the listed building consent with this one as well.
Yeah.
So this application has been brought to committee for determination following an objection comment from the neighbouring property to the north, with concerns that the solar panels will not be in keeping with the character of the village and that they will look unsightly. While some visual harm is caused to the listed building by virtue of the introduction of a strongly modern feature such as the proposed solar panels, it is considered that this harm has been mitigated by the proposed positioning. The solar panels will be installed on the side extension, which is a modern glazed and oak frame addition, which is well screened by mature cloud planting and the host dwelling itself. It is considered that the low level of harm is balanced by the ability to provide a solution in this instance to delivering more sustainable forms of energy generation without harming the original historic fabric of the listed building or the surrounding character of the village. The application also includes the installation of an air source heat pump, which will be well screened in an enclosed section to the rear, and as such, the unit will not be directly visible from public vantage points or from within the street scene. And so this is an aerial view of the site in relation to the village of Evening. This is another aerial view of the site and the location outlined in red and the objectives property backside outlined in yellow. And this is the view of the front of the property on the east. The side extension was it approved in 2015. And this image shows a clear view of the side extension where the proposed solar panels will be installed. This photo is taken from the rear eastern elevation, which is the other side of the roof slope where the solar panels will also be installed. And this image shows the side south elevation, and the objective property can be seen in the foreground. And this photo shows the view of the property from down the lane. And this shows a view of the property a bit further west down the lane. And this photo shows a view of Brook House stood at the window of the objective's property. This image shows a view of Brook House from the objective's garden. And this last photo is a view of the rear of Brook House where the proposed SLC heat pump will be installed. So that concludes the photo presentation. Thank you. There have been comments received from the parish council just stating we have no objection and these comments can be found as all it pages. The recommendation is one of approval for the reasons outlined in the office report.
Thank you, Lucy. Any questions? Seeing no questions. Yes, yes.
Sorry,
Concentrate.
I was just trying to work out. The original plan for the 10 over the house, we put 10 on the main roof. Is that right? 10 panels on the main roof.
So then there's 17 overall, so there's 10 on one side and 7 on the other side.
But they want to put them on the main roof first. That's that right. Why are they going to because not
Always on the.
okay, so that's not
Yeah.
what's the plan?
Right, councillor.
Maybe we just go through the photographs and leave it on the extension as that's it, thank you. Just for,
Yeah, okay.
future.
Right, no more questions. Right, well, we'll go to the day. It's councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, well, I think the principal objection seems to be that it's basically imposing a modern element on a traditional building. Well, clearly, the traditional building, main house, is still untouched. The extension is already has sort of a modern element with the full length glazing and the wooden framing. So if there is a problem with imposing modern elements on the vernacular, it's not happening. It's happening on what's already a relatively modern. It moves away somewhat from the vernacular. If that is a problem, that takes it away. I think the argument against putting solar panels, it just isn't there. And similarly, the air source heating, it allows. It's difficult to say why we should be. So I mean, to cut to a chase, I'm moving improvement.
And that's the right. We've got several seconds to take. Councillor Andrews.
Yeah, yes, Chair. I accept its success, but I'm not quite happy with the idea that just because you have a modern extension, therefore therefore do all sorts of things there, which could be quite garish. I would be, I'm not going to oppose it. I'm not going to speak against this application or vote against the chair, but I would prefer to see the solar panels on the side on the side of the roof, side of the house, which couldn't be seen in the street.
Sherry.
No. All solar panels get lighted sometimes, and there are solar panels on the other side of the house anyway. So it's not the entire that. I do think, the chair, that when we come to consider and approve these things, when this has come to consider, they can try and persuade the applicants to put the possible garish in the ordinary on the side of the house, on the side of the house.
I think I'm right in saying, yeah, I think I'm right in saying that we've got solar panels poles on both sides of the photos. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Councillor Mason.
I think I take the side feeling that's you. So panels are thing that I would urge everything that's going to be good. I don't buy the argument now that we're protecting old buildings for the sake of them being old or being. I think we're in a modern age now, the 21st century, that we need to be looking at retrofitting, decarbonisation of many buildings as possible. The reasoning behind not putting solar panels because it's old, it doesn't watch anyone. And I'm sorry, but I just think it's a very, very, very traditional view that needs to be worked on, particularly a lot further.
Yes, the council's policy is to encourage tourism. And and a lot and a strong element of materialism in this part of the world services. One of the attractions by is that you have a lot of these pretty villages. They have a traditional, conventional look about them. But what happens behind them? Or in anything. But the appearance from the outside, I think, is important from the point of view of service range. And I think it's this is to do with business. How we maintain the attraction of this business into Ryedale. So that's my only point about it.
Thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Chair. I just wish we had a few more applications like this. We've been told that our country is one of the worst for how we insulate our homes and how we produce energy. Our energy bills are all going sky high. We ought to be doing everything we can to become energy efficient and self-sufficient. So I absolutely don't hold with the argument it's old and we ought to keep it. Old houses are probably the most inefficient houses, and we've got to make them better, and we've got to do retrofit. So I will wholeheartedly support this.
Can we declare climate emergency?
Councillor Baker.
Well, I think Councillor Andrews has highlighted one of the benefits of the Ryedale plan, which is to introduce measures into house building and so on and so forth to improve energy efficiency. And at the other, on the other end of the spectrum, to attract as many tourists to travel from as far away as possible into Ryedale and emit their deposit their emissions, if I might say that, as they get here. Totally dark in man. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Cleary.
Very briefly, my understanding is that these fixings don't damage the vernacular, and as and when something better comes along, they can be removed and nobody would know they were ever there.
All right, thank you. Yeah, just my two comments. I'm quite astounded at the objection, which is the fact that I don't believe that we can actually see these panels from where they are anyway, but they've still got a right to object. And I agree absolutely on a major national issue around energy security and cost, and it needs to be addressed sensibly and urgently. And I just want to add how refreshing it was to see such an enlightened and supportive comment from the parish council, which are often a little bit the opposite direction. So it's been moved and seconded, and we'll go to the vote. Another unanimous one. So we're on to item 18. Oh yes, we need a second vote for the LBC on that one, so we'll go to the vote. Yeah. Yeah. No, we didn't put the last one. Charlie, get through. Well, we go to the vote. So.
Councillor Green, would like to vote?
Hello. Haven't voted yet.
Yeah, they're taking all the, you're getting a mother bit.
Yeah, we're unanimous on that one as well. Right, so that brings us on to item 19. 22.01261 full, which is a general purpose agricultural shed. That's my deal with Gordon and it's Elliot.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is an application for the erection of an agricultural building for the storage of machinery, feed and produce. The application has been brought to plan for determination following receipt of objection from the parish council, raising highway concerns and the need for the development. The land is an agricultural use and is intended to establish agricultural enterprise with the above building account equipment associated with the management of the land, along with the storage of produce. Principal of 12% are considered acceptable. Scale, bulk, and materials are also considered acceptable in typical other agriculture products within Rydal, and by virtue of its water scale and the boundary control of the country, so will be limited public use. The local highway authority have been consulted and raised no objections subject to a condition requiring the crossing of the highway verge to be constructed in accordance with highway specification. The site is currently used for agricultural purposes, that are direction to build on the land is not anticipated to give rise to a significant increase in fire traffic on the local highway network. This first aerial view is to show the sites in relation to the village of Lawson. The applicant's land ownership that is outlined right to the north of the image. Next aerial view shows the close position of the building on the site and in relation to the existing boundaries. The nearest residential dwellings also annotated. This photo is taken at the entrance of the site of the plant. The proposed building will be stepped within the site by approximately 20 metres and approximately 5 metres from the southern boundary. This photo is taken in the approximate location of the proposed building in north. This is taken in the southwest corner of the site, looking back east toward the entrance of the site. And this photo is taken within the northeast corner of the site, looking south. This photo is again taken at the entrance of the site, looking north up Hatfield Lane, and to be the property on the east. And these next photos are also taken south of the site to show the existing boundary treatment to the application site and Highfield Lane. And this photo is again from the south with properties to the east being Arlington and Cottage. This photo is then taken north of the site, looking south toward the entrance of the site. There are no updates to the episode or the recommendations for the report.
Right, thank you, Ellen. I have a couple of questions with regard to the parish council comment about the amount of traffic. Can you just confirm that machinery or goods brought, is it about machinery or goods to be brought in or being used for the existing business?
Yeah, I believe the intention is that storage of machinery will ensure that the tenants don't need to bring machinery in the tenant. On-site all times.
Right, thank you. And just to confirm, it's before the committee or simply due to the parish council objection? Right, thank you. Any more questions? No. Right. Is this your backstory?
Cheers. Chair, not sure why the parish council objected, but the Highfield Lane is capacity. I walk the dog up there quite regularly. In fact, I went up this morning, there were more dog walkers than cars. So I'll just move approval.
Thank you. Councillor Cleary. Second.
Third.
In that case, we will go to the vote. Easy. We're slightly limited, but still unanimous. Thank you. We move on to, I believe, final item. Yeah, it's just 22/01/285 house, and this is the formation of a pitched roof to an existing flat roof and Manor Park ramp. And it's
Yeah, so this application was brought to committee and final objection comments from the state properties to the east and the parish council with concerns of loss of light as a result of the proposed pitch roof. Whilst the extension would result in a greater mass close to and along the boundary, it is not considered to limit daylight into the neighbouring properties any more than currently experienced due to the modest proposed additional height and the roof orientation being on the north-south axis. In terms of design, the pitch roof form is reflective of the host property and surrounding garages, including the associated garages of the immediate neighbours and properties to the east, therefore creating visual uniformity in the overall street scene. So this is an overview of the site in relation to the village report. This is another aerial view of the site with the application site and the associated garage outlined in red. The objectives, properties and associated garages are outlined in blue and purple. So this photo shows the applicant's garage from the rear garden looking towards the east. You can see the objectives, properties in the foreground. The garage at Fairview can be seen on the right. This photo shows the rear of the garage. You can see the side of the existing garage in relation to the eastern boundary. This is a view of the principal elevation of the property. The garage is to the left behind metal gates. Then you can also see the garage of Park House to the left. And this is the view of the garage from the garden of Park House. And this last photo shows the garage from the rear of Fairview. And there are no updates to the officer's report and the recommendations of approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
The height of this proposed garage, does it bring it more or less in line with the existing garages of the neighbours? It looks to me very much as bringing it more in line with the street scene rather than,
Yeah, the east height will be 2.4 metres and the ridge will be 3.6 metres. I'm not sure of the height of the pillars. I imagine it'll be like
very similar.
No more questions, right, we'll go to debate, our Bolton contingent is departing. Not far from yours. Yeah, oh, it's yours. Right, okay.
I'm assuming, thanks. I'm assuming that this is here for the address again. Yeah, it is. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's probably improved the streets in there, so. Very well.
And councillor against.
Yeah, happy to support that, sounds like good.
Julio. I'm sure we're there for commenting on the object. Right, we'll go to the box. Unanimous. All right, that just brings us to any other business with it, which I don't believe we have. No. The list of applications determined under delegate hours. I would just point out item number 31, page 362, which is the approval for the Lodge, Goosetrap Lane, West Lily, which I believe is the application that we tried to convince them to take when it was refused. Takes me on to page 374, which is the appeal decision. Yeah, shuffle on 1, 2, 6. Yeah, so the Goosetrap Lane one that we refused, the inspector has agreed, and then they put in the application that we tried to convince them to put in instead. So I think we've been exonerated on that one. The other appeal decision, please scroll well. The appeal is allowed. Yeah, which one's that one? Bottom that one. Oh, anyway, that one's been allowed. And then the last one on page 381, which rather confused me insofar as it said the appeal is dismissed. It turns out that we went for a split decision. This is the one at Railway Street in Slingsby, for anybody who remembers. And we approved the house bit and we refused the car parking bit. And for some strange reason, the planning inspector has said dismissed, but it actually means he's agreed with exactly the split decision that we made. So unless there's anybody, any other comments on that? Yes, Councillor.
Thanks. Yeah, just to come back on exoneration. I think, in fact, both the department and the committee be commended. That actually, it's not that we didn't do anything wrong, we did everything right. I think, you know, I accept that, you know, you might say we got away with it. No, we were right. So both the department and the committee made the right, did everything absolutely spot on.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on those? No? Yeah, they're already they're in the travels. Right, in that case, I will declare this meeting closed. Thank you, everybody, for your perseverance.
All right, on we go. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're waiting for everyone to advise.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, we seem to get back in quite fast. Yeah.
Like he's never left.
Yeah. He wasn't claiming overtime for being at this moment.
Yep. Yeah.
I reckon we're going to see the Harvey application, or I don't see it, but are we going to see it at this council?
Doubt it.
That's what
Yeah. I think it will be I actually think it would be a strategic